So, to go back a little bit in history, Soviet Union conquered Hungary in '56, rolled through Czechoslovakia in '68. The U.S. complained and made a lot of noise, but nothing really happened. How will this turn out?
I.S.U.P.K. 53rd Annual Lord Passover.
53rd Annual Lord's Passover is going to be held down here in Florida.
It's going down.
You're here tonight to get a chance to be righteous enough to be worthy of God. Come on, to save you.
That's right.
It's going down. The Lord's 53rd Annual Passover.
When we say we no cowards, we talk that business. We no cowards up in here.
Book your hotels now at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites, the IHG Hotel, 301 Tucker Lane, Cocoa Beach, Florida, 32926.
Here's a lot of men down. You dealing with the men of war. We at war. I sided with the Lord of war.
How's with all your dishes, pots, and sports knives?
I kind of like this. This is like an apartment and a hotel. You know what I mean? This here right here is about to be holy ground. It's going to be holy ground. All our beautiful, wonderful brothers and sisters from all over the world. You understand? We can boast that now. Brothers and sisters coming not only from every state, but from all over the world. I heard the numbers this year is ridiculous. We had to buy out the whole hotel.
Friday, April 15th at the Space Coast Convention Center.
You cannot debate. You just want the clout. We just want the praise. I'm just trying to get it.
This is going to be glorious.
We don't give a fuck. You can see it in our faces. Got it out the mud. Straight up out the base.
Shalom. Shalom, Israelites. This is the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, and is run today by Commanding General YAHANNA, the man at the rank, and the authority to be the ruler or the leader, ruler too, of the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans who are the Israelites of the Bible today. I want to say Yahweh Basham Yahushai Barakatam to the brothers, Yahweh Shema Ailatan Basham Yahushai to the sisters. Welcome to our Wednesday evening law class. All right, what say I now? Today's topic, or this evening's topic, we're talking about the Most High. Well, we're traveling in the Bible. So we're still at Kings. We are now at Kings. So Solomon built a temple. Well, in the time of Solomon, the Most High gave us rest on all sides. And Solomon, the temple was built under King Solomon. Well, we know what happened after that. It's no more. But we will get rest again. We will get rest as a people again, reestablishing our kingdom, which is called the kingdom of heaven. All right, where are we now? Kings, 1 Kings 7. All right, in chapter 7, we see where King Solomon builds his palace. Or today we would call it a palace, or we call it King's House. So, King Solomon built King's House after he built the Most High's temple. The temple cost him what, 7 years. And then the other properties which he built, the other buildings, took about 13 years to build and complete one. Took about 13 years to build from start to finish. What's the symbolism of this today? Does it just serve as history? Does it just serve as this is just a part of our history? Or does it symbolizes also the things that we have gone through that the Most High is going to replicate or cause to happen again? Christ did tell us that he's going to give us rest. All right. You ready, Officer Kayadwan? Hello. Ready? All right. 1 Kings 7. Solomon built his house and some another property at this time. All right. 1 Kings 7:1. But Solomon was building his own house 13 years, and he finished all his house. Now, imagine you putting up a structure that takes 13 years. And it's not 13 years on and off work, 13 years of continuous work. Let's see something there. Can still this back. All right, 13 continuous years of work Solomon did on the temple. Verse 2. He built also the house of the forest of Lebanon. The length thereof was 100 cubits, and the breadth thereof 50 cubits.
So, okay, you hear me, sir?
I hear you now. You were talking before.
We just did know so that the system never set up right, but connect now. So, okay.
Okay. The length thereof was 100 cubits, and the breadth thereof 50 cubits, and the height thereof 30 cubits, upon 4 rows of cedar pillars. are cedar columns. With cedar beams upon the pillar. So this was a column and beam construction, 2 floors. All right, so typical wooden 2-floor building. You know, you put some nice sized columns, nice sized beams, and you put some floors. Sorry, you put the floor on top of that. All right, pick up from 3.
Slakia, where are we right now, sir?
1 Kings 7 and 3.
And one can. This is the book of 1 Kings chapter 7 and verse 3. And it was covered with cedar above upon the beams that lay on 45 pillars, 15 in a row.
Right. 3 times 15. 15 plus 15, 30 plus 15, 45. I tell you that the length was 100 cubits. That's approximately 150 feet, roughly. And the breadth was about 75. Right, so that basically was a palace. All right, verse 4.
Canada 1 can, verse 4. And there were windows in 3 rows, and light was against light in 3 ranks.
All right. So they had matching windows right across the building. Verse 5.
Canada 1 can, verse 5. And all the doors and posts were square with the windows, and light was against light in 3 ranks.
All right. So this is talking like you're having a bay of windows. 1, 2, 3 windows or 4 windows, and they're all joined together. Light against light. And verse 6.
Canada 1 can, verse 6. And he made a porch of pillars. The length thereof was 50 cubits, and the breadth thereof 30 cubits. And the porch was before them, and the other pillars and the thick beam were before them.
All right. So you have a porch. Big porch too, no? 50 cubits, roughly 75 feet by 40 something feet. The porch was before the building, and the other pillars and thick beams were before them. All right, verse 7.
Canada 1 can, verse 7. Then he made a porch for the throne where he might judge, even the porch of judgment, and it was covered with cedar from one side of the floor to the other.
Right, so the flooring was cedar. Porch of judgment. So this is throne room. Well, we call it like a throne room today. Go to be judged by the king. Today system is not, you don't judge by the king this way again. Directly. You're judged by a judge. You do your appeal. You do your appeal to the throne. In our system, you say you call it Privy Council. Go through the various court of appeal. They have the Privy Council, which is the final court of appeal. The Privy Council, our Privy Council controlled by ISA.
Good.
Thank you.
Slakia, so verse 8.
Yeah, continue.
Canada 1 gun, verse 8. And his house where he dwelt at another court within the porch, which was of the like work. Solomon made also an house for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had taken to wife like unto this porch.
All right, now because we know the story already, we know what fear was that this was an Eden woman that he married. And we know Solomon's story already, so I'm gonna do it on that. Verse 9.
Canada 1 gun, verse 9. All these were of costly stones, according to the measures of huge stones, sawed with saws, within and without, even from the foundation unto the coping, and so on the outside toward the great court.
All right, so what this is telling you that cut stone, right? But you have, you see, the expensive cut stone is a smooth work. So that's why I put costly stones and sawed with saws. Because these stone, even back in those days, they get them to cut so smooth like onto glass, next to glass. And like as I told you, some of these stones could rest one on top of the other without mortar and no water pass through. That was how skilled these men were. So this description of stonework is not an ordinary stonework. Continue.
Canada 1 gun, verse 10. And the foundation was of costly stones, even great stones, stones of 10 cubits, and stones of 8 cubits.
All right, so I have one stone being 10 cubits, 15 feet. Big stones. But these are the foundation. So you lay these stones at the bottom, right? And these stones bear the foundation for the walls that is coming up now out of the ground. Continue.
Canada 1 gun, verse 11. And above were costly stones, after the measure of huge stones, and cedars.
Right, continue.
Verse 12. And the great court round about was with 3 rows of huge stones, and a row of cedar beams, both for the inner court of the house of the Lord, and for the porch of the house. Verse 13. And King Solomon sent and fetched Hiram out of Tyre. Verse 13.
Right. So this man here now, Hiram, all right, the one who he sent to build the temple, that was a Hiram to him. So we can find that one's name. That one was, I think that is in chapter 5. Right. This Hiram that is sent to fetch is a different Hiram from the one in chapter 5.
Right, that one was from Lebanon.
That one, it's whatever from Tyre, you know.
Okay.
That both from Tyre. The one in verse 5 is a king. That's the difference.
Okay. Okay.
And the other Hiram is a skilled workman. So Hiram, king of Tyre, is different from Hiram. I think this other Hiram here is an Israelite.
Good.
The one in 13 look more like an Israelite. Continue.
Another one gun. Verse 14. He was a widowed son of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre, a worker in brass, and he was filled with wisdom and understanding, and cunning to work all works in brass. And he came to King Solomon and wrought all his work.
All right, so what in this verse now could let you know that he's an Israelite?
Salakia, say that again.
What in this verse, in verse 14, could let you know that he's an Israelite?
The tribe that he came from, Naphtali.
No, his mother was from Naphtali. He was a widow's son of the tribe of Naphtali. All right, you have a little ambiguity there.
Okay.
It could be the son that, it could be the widow that is from Naphtali, or him is from Naphtali. But we know he's an Israelite. We could take it that he is of this tribe of Naphtali. But let's say it is talking about this, the mother being a Naphthalite. Or what in this verse also would make you know that he's an Israelite?
Salakia, the part where it said he was filled with wisdom and understanding.
Right, that part that he was filled with wisdom and understanding. Because it's only us, the Bible describe having wisdom and understanding. Why?
Because wisdom and understanding comes by keeping the law. You know
right,
what I mean?
from the Most High.
Okay.
So that make you know he was a Israelite.
Okay.
Also, he was, all right, he tell you that he's a man of Tyre, a worker in brass. So it's not today, it's not just today that we are traveling and being among other nations in long time. Because Tyre wasn't a part, that wasn't one of our territory. Tyre was a Hamite territory. But prior to King Solomon, during the time of the judges, we had to be living, well, we experienced many droughts and famine and wars that pushed our people into the neighboring territories. So this man now obviously grew up in Tyre. Okay. And he learned to be a worker in brass. And he had he had wisdom and understanding, cunning worker in all works of brass. And he came to King Solomon and wrought his work. All right, so he did King Solomon's work, 15.
Another one, verse 15. For he cast 2 pillars of brass of 18 cubits high apiece, and a line of 12 cubits did compass either of them about.
16.
Verse 16. And he made 2 chapiters of molten brass to set upon the top of the pillars. The height of the one chapiter was 5 cubits, and the height of the other chapiter was 5 cubits.
All right. Now, this thing that they're reading about that they call it chapiter, it is really called, today you call it a column capital, which is like a padding that you put at the top of the column.
Good.
To prevent, if you rest the board up top directly on the column, over time the column is going to punch through the board. So you build an area like a padding wide enough to hold the floor, and then that padding rests on the column, So it prevents the column from punching through the floor. Now, you know, in construction, you know what they teach us in construction? That the capital, the column capital came from the Romans.
Okay, good. Okay.
But here you're reading about it in the Bible long before the Romans were
Right.
formed. So that is a lie.
Good.
Teaching us that teaching us in construction would it was the Romans who discovered how to make column capitals and column base to prevent punching shear. But you're reading about it in the Bible. They call it chapiters, which is the same thing as the column capital to prevent. It's a method of construction to prevent early destruction or early bending of your floor.
Okay.
So your building lasts next to forever. As long as the wood or concrete can last, the building will stand up without the columns being turned around after over time being destructive to the building. All right, continue.
Another one, gun. Verse 17. A net of checker work and reeds of chain work for the chapiters which were upon the top of the pillars, 7 for the one chapiter and 7 for the other chapiter.
Right, so these are like decorations. Continue.
Another one, can. Verse 18. And he made the pillars and 2 rows round about upon the one network to cover the chapiter that were upon the top with pomegranates, and so did he for the other chapiter.
Right, more decorations.
Verse 19. And the chapiters that were upon the top of the pillars were of lily work in the porch for cubits.
4 cubits. 4 cubits. All right. So
4 cubits.
More decorations again. And you know, depending on how you design these capitals or chapiters, as it's called in the Bible, it adds to the beautification of the building.
Okay.
So what it is describing here now is a splendid work of art to look upon. Continue.
Another one, can. Verse 20. And the chapiters upon the 2 pillars had pomegranates also above, over against the belly, which was by the network. And the pomegranates were 200 in rows, round about upon the other chapiter.
No, this is intricate artwork. All right, talking about right at the belly now, talking about the base or the midsection of the that capital, that chapiter decoration, which was on top of the column. Continue.
Another one, can. Verse 21. And he set upon the pillars in the porch of the temple, and he set up the right pillar and called the name thereof Chachim. And he set up the left pillar and called the name thereof Boaz.
Boaz and Jachin. All right, continue.
Another one, can. Verse 22. And upon the top of the pillars was lily work. So was the work of the pillars finished.
Decoration again. 23.
Another one, can. Verse 23. And he made a molten sea, 10 cubits from the one brim to the other. It was round all about, and his height was 5 cubits, and a line of 30 cubits did compass it round about.
You know what this is? this molten sea is a basin, you know. Huge basin for the priests. I don't know if they're going there and wash their whole body or they just wash their hand and face in it. But 10 cubits from one brim to the other. So the I call it now, the diameter of this basin was approximately 15 feet. It's big. And it's tall too. It's 5 cubits tall, of seven and something feet tall. It's like, this is even bigger than a bathtub. But it was used in the temple for part of our ceremonial works.
Okay.
It was used for the priests, I think. Continue.
Another one can. Verse 24. And under the brim of it, round about, there were naps compassing it, 10 in a cubit, compassing it, compassing it the sea round about. The naps were cast in 2 rows when it was cast.
One.
Verse 25. It stood upon 12 oxen, 3 looking towards the north, and 3 looking towards the west, and 3 looking towards the south, and 3 looking towards the east. And the sea was set above upon them, and all their inner parts were inward.
All right, you understand that? So the face of the oxen, 3 oxen face turn east, 3 west, north, south. So the body of the oxen would turn, all the backs would, in the parts, the hind parts would turn to each other. And then on top of that, now they put the basin. Just picture that in your mind. This was a beautiful sight, and it was made of brass. And there is nothing like polished brass. It glistens.
Good.
Right? So this work was a beautiful artwork, beautiful works of brass or metal that was in the temple. All these, you know, they were taken by our invaders, you know. You know, I wonder if Rome do have some of these our things under is right there in the Vatican. In their what they call it section there again. They have a museum there, you know, which is all the cardinals and the Pope get to go in there. No ordinary person don't get to go in there. Next verse.
Another one can. Verse 26. And it was an hand's breadth thick, and the brim thereof was wrought like the brim of a cup, with flowers of lilies. It contained 2,000 baths.
And it was an hand's breadth thick, and the brim thereof was okay. Oh, by the time when you read about the priest in Christ's time, the high priest, this was like the bath house that you know, you had to, all the priests and so, even the people, you had to wash before you went to the temple. By the time it came down to Christ's time, these were some of the things that they were making money at. The priest was making money off. They were collecting monies for you to get a wash. Continue.
Another one can. Verse 27. And he made 10 bases of brass, 4 cubits was the length of one base, and 4 cubits the breadth thereof, and 3 cubits the height of it.
Continue.
Another one can, verse 28. And the work of the bases was on this manner. They had borders, and the borders were between the ledges. Verse 29. And on the borders that were between the ledges were lions, oxen, and cherubims. And upon the ledges there was a base above, and beneath the lions and oxen were certain additions made of tin work.
All right, so these are like the temple's furniture now.
Gone.
Lovely things being made, lovely artwork. You just think of this. That's why. That is why. You know, we shouldn't have fallen the way we fell, because our temple was the most splendid thing in its time, you know. No other nation had anything looking so good, you know. None. Continue.
Another one can. Verse 30. And every base had 4 brazen wheels, and plates of brass, and the 4 corners thereof had under setters. Under the laver were under setters. Laver were under setters molten at the side of every addition. Another one can, verse 31. And the mouth of it within the chapiter and above was a cubit, but the mouth thereof was round after the work of the base, a cubit and a half. And also upon the mouth of it were gravings with their borders, 4 square, not round.
Yeah.
Another one can, verse 32. And under the borders were 4 wheels, and the axle trees of the wheels were joined to the base, and the height of the wheel was a cubit and a half a cubit.
That's verse.
Just read verse 32, sir.
32. All right. This is more furniture. Go on again. Continue.
Another one can, verse 33. And the work of the wheels was like the work of a chariot wheel. Their axle trees and their naves and their felloes and their spokes were all molten.
So they had chariot decorations in there. All right, so this decoration now. Well, it's there, maybe that was our interpretation of the chariot then. But today, how we know the chariot to be?
Salakia, say that again, sir.
That was the interpretation they had then of the chariot.
Okay, with axle tree and all them thing there.
Yeah, man, just like the one that the horse would pull. But how
Yeah,
do we
yeah.
know the chariot to be today?
Can me that wonder if it was the chariots or the angels them inner or those regular chariot wheels. Them with that.
Well, that is what they were trying to replicate.
Okay, can.
It was called a chariot. So
Can.
they did what they know a chariot looked like.
Right, can.
But what they would have placed in it now would be 2 spaceships, but what's the name? The vision that Ezekiel got didn't come about yet.
Can.
When we were coming out of Egypt, you know, we didn't see the chariots, you know. What we saw was cloud. But somehow they knew that the Moses had chariot. and they knew how the cherubim look.
Good.
And they have the tall 15 feet or more man with its wings stretch out like this. So in that area that was called Holies of Holies, you know, which are the two cherubim and being overlaid with gold. That was designed to drive fear in the heart of the priest, you know. When him go in there, you think twice before committing sin, because this is like a replica of what takes place in heaven.
Good.
So, you know, you should think twice before sinning, but for some of them it didn't start while it come like it don't scare them. But you know, it tells us, the scripture tells us that we should fear God. It tells us that. But for the priests, there are designs in the temple that would give him an image of what the possible throne era or presence of God would look like. That should drive fear in them, so that they don't sin and they stick to the law, statutes, and commandment. All right, so we are verse 34.
Another one gun, verse 34. And there were 4 undersetters to the 4 corners of one base, and the undersetters were of the very base itself.
Continue.
Another one gun, verse 35. And in the top of the base was there a round compass of half a cubit high, and on the top of the base the ledges thereof and the borders thereof were of the same.
Continue.
Another one can, verse 36. For on the plates of the ledges thereof and on the borders thereof he graved cherubims, lions, and palm trees, according to the proportion of every one, and additions round about. Verse 37. After this manner he made the 10 bases. All of them had one casting, one measure, and one size.
One.
Verse 38. Then made he 10 lavers of brass. One laver contained 4 lavers of brass. One laver contained 40 baths, and every laver was 4 cubits, and upon every one of the 10 bases 1 laver.
Right, so this is the bathhouse here. So he made the baths, he said, 1 lava contained 40 baths, and there was 10 lava, so that's what, 400 baths.
400. Gone.
40 times 10, right? Right, well, 400 baths. all these became, by the time Christ came, well, these wonderful artwork were destroyed by the time Christ came, you know, because the Grecian overran the temple. Who else did it? The Babylonians. So many of these were carried away to other lands. But from time to time they were replaced. Maybe not looking as splendid as before in Solomon time here. But by the time Christ came, all these bathhouses became commercial baths. Became a place for money making.
Gone.
Continue.
Another one can. Verse 39. And he put 5 bases on the right side of the house, and 5 on the left side of the house. And he set the sea on the right side of the house eastward over against the south.
All right, so that sea now is that big basin with bath I think it was a lava that they call the sea. Continue.
Another one gun, verse 40. And Hiram made the lavers and the shovels and the basins. So Hiram made an end of doing all the work that he made King Solomon, Slakia, that he made King Solomon for the house of the Lord,
One.
Verse 41. The two pillars and the two bowls of the chapiters that were on the top of the two pillars and the two network to cover the two bowls of the chapiter which were upon the top of the pillars.
Right. One.
Verse 42. And 400 pomegranates for the two networks, even 2 rows of pomegranates for one network to cover the 2 bowls of the chapiters that were upon the pillars. Verse 43. And the 10 bases and 10 lavers on the bases. Verse 44. And 1 sea and 12 oxen under the sea. Verse 45. And the pots and the shovels and the basins and all these vessels which Hiram made to King Solomon for the house of the Lord were of bright brass.
Right. Polished brass.
Yeah.
So, yeah, bright is what is in the scripture, but
right.
It used to say polished brass, so they were shiny.
Okay.
Right. Pots. These are flesh pots and the shovels to take up the thing there. The ashes from the altar and the basins to carry the meat and so on. You know, all made of brass. They were splendid work. And like I said, they all became what's the word? The nations round about became jealous.
Okay.
Word would travel, you know. People, we see one start to talk how beautiful our temple be other nations here, but they can't go in there and see.
Okay.
They will take our word for it, so much so that it reach other kings' ears and then decide that, you know, we should invade these people and take away these lovely things that we are hearing that make them so wise, because we need to be wise too. All right, where are we now? Verse 48?
Verse 46.
46, all right.
Another one can, verse 46. In the plain of Jordan did the king cast them in the clay ground between Succoth and Zartan.
Okay, so like it was said, there was no clinging sound heard in the temple. So everything was made somewhere from outside and transported, into the temple. Continue.
Okay. Another one can, verse 47. And Solomon left all the vessels on weight because they were exceeding many. Neither was the weight of the brass found out.
They must be heavy.
Okay.
Left all the vessels unweighed. Right. Continue.
Another one can, verse 48. And Solomon made all the vessels that pertained unto the house of the Lord, the altar of gold and the table of gold, whereupon the shewbread was.
One.
Verse 49. And the candlesticks of pure gold, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left, before the oracle, with the flowers and the lamps and the tongues of gold.
All right, so the candlesticks of pure gold. What the one that we have is the menorah, which is candlestick of 7 candles. But this candlestick was right before the oracle, before the holies of holy.
Okay.
This was for lighting. So this was 10 candles, probably big candles, for, like I said, the candle light inside the Holy of Holies, reflecting from the gold, would have given a beautiful sight. Go on.
Canada one can. Verse 49. And the candlesticks of pure gold, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left, before the oracle with the flowers and the lamps and the tongues of gold. Verse 50. And the bowls and the snuffers and the basins and the spoons and the censers of pure gold, and the hinges of gold, both for the doors of the inner house, the most holy place, and for the doors of the house, to wit, of the temple.
Right, so these are the, so you have some of the works that were brass and some were gold. Pure gold, you know. They're making candlesticks of pure gold that they use at the oracle. And the tongues were, I think, to out the candle, they use the snuff. There are snuffers. Then you add bowls, another basins and spoon, and other censers. The censer that they use with the incense in it.
Okay.
Pure gold. Maybe the only place you might see pure gold censer now is in the Vatican. Because they have ours.
Right.
All right, continue.
Canada one can. Verse 51. So was ended all the work that King Solomon made for the house of the Lord. And Solomon brought in the things which David his father had dedicated, even the silver and the gold and the vessels did he put among the treasures of the house of the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Right. So he did what? He brought in the things. So he make all these things, because it's not like today where our church in every community. The temple of the Lord is one.
Good.
Just like the body of the Lord is one.
Good.
Right? There is no such thing. When Christ came, you know, they were talking about who were proselytes and who were whatever. But the body of Christ is the body of the Most High of God is one. That is why, you know, there can only be one truth. And they were in the time of King Solomon, there was only one temple. All right, next
Chapter.
Next chapter.
Canada one can. This is the book of 1 Kings, chapter 8 and verse 1.
All right, before you start. Now, in 7 years, all these things that were built, all them things I can only build. You can only build these things when you have peace. In the time of the judges, we couldn't have built a temple. We would have lost that temple so many times.
Good.
You understand? Because you can only have, you know, these golden vessels and things when you don't have people attacking you. Which we see what happened after they were built. And then other nations start attacking us again. We saw what happened. But you know, it's only when the Most High give you rest that you can do things like that. And we know rest is coming again.
Can.
Right? In the form of Christ. Read on.
Can everyone can. This is the book of 1 Kings chapter 8 and verse 1. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the children of Israel, unto King Solomon in Jerusalem, that they might bring up the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of the city of David, which is Zion.
All right. So now the ark now get its resting place. The ark of the covenant now gets its resting place. Now we know when Christ returned, we won't be getting a temple this time, we'll be getting a city. And we also know that that same Ark of the Covenant, which was hid in the mountain, which the Most High caused them to hide in the mountain, that is coming back.
Right.
And it's going to be right there in the city, which is called the Kingdom of Heaven. All right, read on.
Another one can, verse 2. And all the men of Israel assembled themselves unto King Solomon at the feast in the month Ethanim, which is the 7th month.
Okay. Which feast we have in the 7th month?
Okay.
We have approximately probably about 2 feasts that we have in the 7th month.
We have the Feast of Tabernacle.
Feast of Tabernacle.
Gone. And we have Memorial of Blowing of the Trumpet.
Right. 2 feasts in the 7th month. Where the Ark of the Covenant rested, Noah's Ark rested on the mountain in the 7th month. The Most High is this now Solomon blessing, dedicating the temple in the 7th month. Continue, read on.
Another one can. Verse 3. And all the elders of Israel came, and the priests took up the ark. Verse 4. And they brought up the ark of the Lord, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and all the holy vessels that were in the tabernacle. Even those did the priests and the Levites bring up.
Right.
Another one can, verse 5. And King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel that were assembled unto him were with him before the ark, sacrificing sheep and oxen that could not be told nor numbered for multitudes.
All right. So in verse 4 it said, they brought up the ark and the tabernacle of the congregation and the holy vessels. What are they talking about?
When it said they brought up the ark of the Lord, the ark is actually the board structure. You know what I mean? Where you have the laws, the written laws, the 2 tablets them. You know what I mean? And the tabernacle now would have be like the thing where them set up for house it. You know what I mean? Because remember the temple never construct yet. So them they build like a tent-like structure. You understand? So all of them things there consist of the tabernacle of the congregation.
All right, that tent-like structure was like when we were in the wilderness. That's where we would go to do our worship. It was like a mobile temple.
God.
we could pull it down and, set it up back,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. So even by the time of Solomon, we're talking about some 400 years later, they had it still.
Gone.
So there now they brought it up, and what do you think they did with it? All that would have gone into the this building
Gone.
for storage. That's why in the time of Jeremiah, when Jeremiah hid the ark in the mountain and the tabernacle, they would have taken it from the temple here and carried it and hide it. Why? Because I mean we were being threatened by other nations so much. I think it was in the time of Jeremiah, we were going into Babylonian captivity, right? So they had to hide them.
Gone.
Because our period of rest, because of our sinful ways, was, I say, coming to an end. No, we were going into punishment. And they knew what was going to, Jeremiah knew what was going to happen. Continue.
Another one, gone, verse 6. And the priests brought in the ark of the covenant of the Lord unto his place, into the oracle of the house, to the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubims.
All right, so verse 1, that's 6. The priest brought the ark of the covenant of the Lord into his place. Right, so the ark of the covenant, right where the cherubims that went this way, bam. That's where the ark of the covenant would have gone to.
Okay.
All right, continue.
Another one, can. Verse 7. For the cherubim spread forth their 2 wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubims covered the ark and the staves thereof above.
All right, so the cherubims would be like they're facing the 2 cherubims facing each other with their wings span out, and the ark of the covenant come right in between them. Glorious sight. It's a sight that would drive fear in you too. Continue.
Another one, can. Verse 8. And they drew out the staves, that the ends of the staves were seen out in the holy place before the oracle, and they were not seen without, and there they are unto this day.
All right, so the staves were what you would use to carry the ark.
Okay.
Our staff, but it's more than one, so it's staves. And they pull them out from the ark of the covenant. Continue.
Another one, can. Verse 9. There was nothing in the ark save the 2 tables of stone which Moses put there at Horeb, when the Lord made a covenant with the children of Israel, when they came out of the land of Egypt.
All right, so who the Lord made the covenant with? The Lord made a covenant with who?
Slovakia. Covenant with the children of Israel.
Right, the children of Israel.
Yeah.
And no other person, no other families of this earth.
Okay.
That was made with the children of Israel, not with everybody. You know, when the next round of slavery come about, these nations will be saying that God is for us too. But nah, they have never ever said that.
Right.
It's only when we have to rise back to glory, then God is for everybody. But when we go into punishment, they point finger, you are a wicked and dreadful set of people. They ain't going in no punishment with you. Verse 10.
Another one, can. Verse 10. And it came to pass, when the priests were come out of the holy place, that the cloud filled the house of the Lord.
So this was an indication that the Most High was with us. And it came to pass when the priests were come out of the holy place. So when they entered the holy place, there was no cloud. And when they come out, the cloud filled the house of the Lord.
Okay.
Continue.
Another one can. Verse 12. Then spake Solomon.
No, 11.
Salakia. Verse 11. So that the priest could not stand to minister because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord had filled the house of the Lord.
Right. The priest could not stand to speak to the people. Too much smoke or too much cloud. The place gets so cloudy.
Okay.
You know, they had sensors. They were doing their sensing, frankincense and so on and so forth. There was a mixture that they used inside the temple. That was not we use outside of the temple.
Okay.
So that cloud now came up as a result of the Most High's glory. And the Most High is showing his appreciation unto us for building such a splendid house to house, the Ark of the Covenant, and a splendid place for us to go and communicate with him. Verse 12.
Verse 12. Then spake Solomon, the Lord said that he would dwell in the thick darkness. Verse 13. I have surely built thee an house to dwell in, a settled place for thee to abide in forever.
Right. So of them, because there was a time when Moses tell him that he will dwell in the thick darkness. So when they see that thick cloud inside the temple, they say, surely the Most High appreciate this temple. 14.
Verse 14. And the king turned his face about and blessed all the congregation of Israel. And all the congregation of Israel stood.
All right. So the congregation is not that body of people inside the church. The congregation is all of us Israelites.
Right.
Not the people inside the church. Continue. It's because of syncretism why they teach it in the church that the congregation is all who attend in the church.
Okay.
The church members. They call it syncretism. Christianity is one of the biggest syncretized religions. They syncretize our culture. Continue.
Right. Verse 15. And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, which spake with his mouth unto David my father, and as with his hand fulfilled it, saying, verse 16, Since the day that I brought forth my people Israel out of Egypt, I chose no city out of all the tribes of Israel to build an house, that my name might be therein, but I chose David to be over my people Israel.
All right. Continue.
Verse 17. And it was in the heart of David my father to build an house for the name of the Lord God of Israel. Verse 18. And the Lord said unto David my father, Whereas it was in thine heart to build an house unto my name, thou didst well that it was in thine heart. Verse 19. Nevertheless, thou shalt not build the house, but thy son that shall come forth out of thy loins, he shall build the house unto my name.
All right. And Christ is from David loins as well. 20.
Another one can, verse 20. And the Lord has performed his word that he spake, and I am risen up in the room of David my father, and sit on the throne of Israel, as the Lord promised, and have built an house for the name of the Lord God of Israel.
21.
Verse 21. And I have set there a place for the ark, wherein is the covenant of the Lord, which he made with our fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Egypt.
Right. So the ark got a resting place, the people got a resting place. The Most High got a resting place when that temple was built. Until then, before then, we had no resting place. We were like nomads.
Right.
We pitched there, we would put up the, I call it, the tabernacle. We would erect the tabernacle where, well, I don't want to say where it suits us, but we had times when the tabernacle was at this city, it was at that city. Understand? But
Okay.
this time now, building the temple of the Most High, this would have been the final resting place. As a matter of fact, it was supposed to be the final resting place. But the Ark of the Covenant is somewhere in a mountainside now. Continue.
Another one can. Verse 22. And Solomon stood before the altar of the Lord in the presence of all the congregation of Israel, and spread forth his hand towards heaven.
Right.
Another one can. Verse 23. And he said, Lord God of Israel, there is no power like thee in heaven above or on earth beneath, who keepeth covenant and mercy with thy servants that walk before thee with all their heart.
Right. Lord God of Israel, there is no God like unto thee. There is no God like unto thee in heaven above or in earth beneath, who keep a covenant like our God at that time. And even though we break the covenant, you know, we are looking for Christ's redemption still because of the covenant. Continue.
Another one can. Verse 24. Who has kept with thy servant David, my father, that thou promised him? Thou spakest also with thy mouth, and hast fulfilled it with thine hands, as it is this day.
All right, that is verse 1. Verse 1.
Verse 24.
24.
God.
Was kept with thy servant David, my father, that the promises him. Right. So he promised David. What was the promise that was made to David?
That he would let me word it properly. That there will never fail to be, he would never fail to have a seed.
Not that promise.
Okay, Slakia.
The one that Solomon would be talking about here.
Okay, that Solomon would make the temple.
That David's son.
God.
Didn't call a son name.
God.
That David's son would build the temple.
God.
25.
Another one can, verse 25. Therefore now, Most High Power of Israel, keep with thy servant David, my father, that thou promised him, saying, there shall not fail thee a man in my sight to sit on the throne of Israel, so that thy children take heed to thee, slacker to their way, that they walk before me as thou hast walked before me.
Right. So this is the other promise now.
Can.
There shall not fail thee a man in my sight. In whose sight?
In David's slacker, in the Most High sight.
In the Most High sight.
Can.
And I'm sure the Most High is not blind yet. And never gonna be blind.
Can.
That is why you have Christ from the lineage of David.
Can.
Because of these promises. So you see, all these things show you that David, that Christ is not from the seed, is not from God the Father himself with a woman of the flesh.
God.
He was from a man in the flesh.
God.
Continue. From the loins of a man.
Can. Verse 26. And know, O power of Israel, let thy word, I pray thee, be verified, which thou spakest unto thy servant David my father.
Go on.
Verse 27. But will God indeed dwell on the earth before the heavens, and heavens of heavens cannot contain thee? How much less this house?
Hold on. You said before the heavens, behold.
Behold, Salakia. Let me start again. Verse 27. But will God indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, the heaven and heaven of heavens cannot contain thee. How much less this house that I have built? Verse 28. Yet have thou respect unto the prayer of thy servant, and to his supplication, O Most High, my power, to hearken unto the cry and to the prayer which thy servant prayeth before thee today.
Go on.
Verse 29. That thine eyes may be open towards this house night and day, even towards the place of which thou hast said, my name shall be there, that thou mayest hearken unto the prayer which thy servant shall make toward this place. Verse 30. And hearken thou to the supplication of thy servant and of thy people Israel, when they shall pray towards this place, and hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and when thou hearest, forgive.
So the Most High promised to be with us at that temple. Now Solomon prayed to the Most High, asking him that, when the people come here and pray towards this place. All right, so basically, what he's telling you, wherever in Jerusalem, wherever you were in the land of Israel, you set your face towards the temple and pray.
God.
That's what Solomon is asking for. When they shall pray towards this place, and hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and when thou hearest, forgive. So just set it wherever in the land you are. First thing you must know is which direction the temple is.
God.
And you turn your face, wherever you are, turn your face towards the temple and you pray. The Most High will hear you. That's what Solomon is asking for. 31.
Another one can. Verse 31. If any man transgress against his neighbor, and an oath be laid upon him to cause him to swear, and the oath come before thine altar in this house. Verse 32. Then hear thou in heaven, and do, and judge thy servants, condemning the wicked to bring his way upon his head, and justifying the righteous to give him according to his righteousness.
Okay, 33.
Another one can, verse 33. When thy people Israel be smitten down before the enemy, because they have sinned against thee, and shall turn again to thee, and confess thy name, and pray, and make supplication unto thee in this house. Verse 34. Then hear thou in heaven, and forgive the sin of thy people Israel, and bring them again unto the land which thou gavest unto their fathers.
All right. So you see, this prior year, verse 33 and 34, this was one of the things that we took for granted. This was one of the things we took for granted because, you know, as soon as we stray from the Most High, as soon as we go out and we celebrate Christmas, Easter, Halloween, Thanksgiving, you know, those holidays, they are not new. They just have different names. These names are dubbed according to the times now that we're living. But back then, they were dubbed according to the land of whichever land I was under captivity and the gods of those lands. When we go astray and go and do those things now, and then the Most High start to punish us, all we do is just run, go back, and we start crying to him.
Okay.
Because of this. That's why the Most High drive us out of the land. Say, all right, drive on out and block up the path. But you can't find a way back home. All right, 35.
Another one can. Verse 35. When heaven is shut up, and there is no rain, because they have sinned against thee, if they pray toward this place, and confess thy name, and turn from their sin, when thou afflictest them. Verse 36. Then hear thou in heaven, and forgive the sin of thy servants, and of thy people Israel, that thou teach them the good way wherein they should walk, and give rain upon thy land, which thou hast given to thy people for an inheritance.
So, follow Solomon's prayer. Forgive the sin of thy servant and of thy people Israel, that thou teach them the good way wherein they should walk. But how do you learn the good way today in which we should walk?
Today you have to come, you know what I mean, learn from the I.S.U.P.K and the commanding general, YAHANNA.
Right. You come right in the truth, you come in the I.S.U.P.K today and the commanding general, YAHANNA.
Right.
And you learn in the time where would you do? You would go to the temple.
Okay.
And the priest would teach you according to how he interprets the scriptures. Interpret the law. But today you come under commanding general YAHANNA, and the scriptures will be interpreted to you, the laws and the real breakdown of the scriptures being interpreted to you, teaching you the way in which you should walk, meaning that the way in which you should serve and praise the Most High. Because this syncretized religion of Christianity teaches you that praising the Lord is going to the church and all of the anti-praises and so on and things. But praising the Lord is being of service unto your brother, man.
Right.
Right? It is not it's not just to pray to God. That is you asking him or speaking to him for whatever reason. But the way in which you should walk, the walking symbolizes action. So it's not just you going up and say, Father, I believe, I believe. It's not a belief thing.
Right.
It's action. That's why they put it this way. In that it don't say the way in which you should believe, they say the way in which they should walk. Right? Meaning the proper thing. What's the way in which you should walk today? You hear us in the truth telling you, stop celebrating Christmas. Stop celebrating New Year. Stop. What was the last one they celebrated again?
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Stop celebrating Valentine's Day. And all of you know, still looking towards celebrating Easter coming up. No, because my family is doing so good. I got to buy them some bun and cheese. Nah, that's not how it works. The most I don't want to celebrate in these days, which are not in the Bible.
Right.
It's the ways of the heathen. So when I talk about the way in which you should walk, it's talking about the things that you should do, or you should judge according to the laws, or you should live according to the laws, the things that you should eat and the things that you should not eat. And after coronavirus, people should not be saying that the laws, you can eat what you want to eat.
Right.
If that was true, we wouldn't have coronavirus. It's
Right.
bats. And rather than Christians admitting that, we ought not to eat in whatever we want to eat, but we should eat according to the laws. Rather than they admitting to that, they say coronavirus is man-made.
Right.
Not understanding how stupid they are into saying coronavirus is man-made. Because in you saying that it is man-made is you saying that man can create life.
Right.
A man can create life. All right? The only thing that they can do, manipulate. And the coronavirus, it wasn't manipulated by man. How you know that is the Most High Power's work? It keeps replicating. Right. Keeps mutating. If this was the work of man, it would have just come and killed. This amount of people that it has killed so far, it would kill that amount of person probably in a couple months. And then it just burn out. But it wouldn't be able to, for something to be mutated, it shows that it have an intelligence program within it. You get what I'm saying? It's like a computer virus. A computer virus is an intelligence program that you put in the computer, which it is able to read and write and store and do whatever you command on its own.
Okay.
But that is machine. Man cannot do that in a living organism. Only the Most High God can do that. And the virus, the coronavirus is able to read your body. And you see, all right, probably what is happening in Hong Kong now, where Hong Kong is now the epicenter, is gearing up to be the epicenter. You're probably going to have a new strain, a new mutation coming out of Hong Kong pretty soon. Right? Anywhere it is allowed to fester, that's how you know that it is not man-made, because it keeps replicating on its own. Okay. Not able to do that. We're giving too much credence to man. And rather than this is how cruel Christianity is, and they don't see it. Rather than you realizing the faults of man, you are giving man the credence to say, is man made this? And we're not taking the vaccine. It is the mark of the beast. It is this, it is that. Well, don't take it. You catch it and you're not strong enough, you're going to die. And look at the next spin-off that is coming from the coronavirus. Look at the wars that is happening in the world. Right. Right now we have the glorious Putin. The man who is going to The man who is going to mash up NATO and bust them tomato.
Yeah.
Right now. That is what we're looking forward to. Because who did the most I show how they should walk? Us.
Right.
Nobody else. They could talk about NATO so much time. Now, Putin looking for cracks, and he knows that there are cracks within NATO. Right there in Germany. Because they're talking about we're not certifying Nord Stream 2. But Nord Stream 2.1 is still pumping oil. So since as you want to put sanctions on Putin, why not just cut Nord Stream 1 too? I say, yeah, we're not making more from you.
Can't afford that.
They can't afford that.
Can't.
Nord Stream 1 is still pumping. So Putin know that Putin, you know, he's smart. I'm gonna give it to him. I have little cleverness in him, you know. That is why he's the one who is going to mash up NATO. Putin are gonna bust their tomato.
God. And Slakia, sir, you notice what him do to them say he will be sanctioned if he enter into Ukraine. So you know him do? Him just recognize two faction in a Ukraine as independent state.
And then going
so, you know what I mean? He never enter Ukraine. He enter in some different place, you know? Slakia.
All right. President Biden roll out some sanctions.
God.
Hear me here, a news analyst said, no. But these sanctions was in place from 6 years ago.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's the same sanctions repeating.
Okay. So it's a Sykes them a pull.
Yes, and you know the Ukrainian president isn't that daft, you know. The Ukrainian president says, "How are you talking? None of the two sides is helping in Ukraine." He said, "If NATO really serious about helping Ukraine, why not accept us into NATO?
Right.
If Russia really serious about us, why are you invading us?" So none of that is not for us.
Right.
That's the stance he is taking, but not by saving, because then again, NATO ain't that much stupid either. Because you accepting NATO, you accepting Ukraine right now, you are importing a war into NATO.
Right.
That would certainly bust them tomato. All right. Back at who the most I teach how to walk. He didn't teach NATO how to walk. He taught us.
Right.
All right. So verse what now? 37.
Canada one gun. Verse 37. If there be in the land famine, if there be pestilence, blasting, mildew, locust, or if there be caterpillar, if their enemy besiege them in the land of their cities, whatsoever plague, whatsoever sickness there be, verse 38, what prayer and supplication soever be made by any man or by all thy people Israel, which shall know every man the plague of his own heart, and spring forth his hands toward this house. Spread forth his hands towards this house. Verse 39. Then hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and forgive, and do and give to every man according to his ways, whose heart thou knowest, for thou even thou, Slakia, for thou, Slakia, for thou even thou only knowest the heart of all the children of men.
Thou even thou only do what? knows the art
Know
of
it.
all our children of men.
Yeah.
So, all right. When you read from 37, come down, what is this really? Summarize this and tell me what it is not stated here, but what is it saying really?
What Solomon is saying is that it's basically is Solomon basically has say him knows says Israel are go fall, you know what I mean? And but him ask the Most High for when Israel fall, to have mercy upon them as long as them remember, you know what I mean, the Most High.
All right. When I read this, it states it talk about plague, it talk about whichever cities you might be in. It talk about you being besieged by your enemy. It talk about mildew, land, famine, pestilence, blasting, locust, caterpillar, those things. No rain falling and so. What this is showing you? When you follow the Most High, these things not supposed to take you. You understand?
Salakia, sir. Say that again. One Salakia.
This is telling you that when you follow the Most High,
Can.
when you keep His law, statutes, and commandments, and you are walking, not believing, but walking with the Most High, these things are not supposed to happen.
Can.
You're not supposed to have famine. So that's how you know that the Asians are not walking with God, eh?
Can.
You're not supposed to be plagued by pestilence. So that means we in the West here, we're not walking with God either. Blasting, mildew are coming up, mildew not coming. It's what happen. Locusts, long time, locusts took Trinidad the other day.
Can.
Right? Caterpillar, when caterpillar come and eat down the things, the crop, terrible. You're being besieged by your enemies. These things are not supposed to happen when you walk. Sickness, which is plaguing us. It is plaguing the Most High's people today. Mental sickness, all kind of sickness. This is telling you that these things happen when we are not following the Most High's laws.
Okay.
So this talk that you hear men telling about, man of a dead to make man live. When you hear a man say, man of a dead to make that man live, take him to 1 Kings 8, read from, carry from the 35, you read from 35 to
39.
Right, to 39, and show him that, nah, a man not supposed to dead to make man live. This is showing him, right, if it's where you begin before that. You can begin at 34. Why you would begin at 34? Because it said, hear, O in heaven, and forgive the sin. It talk about the sin of thy people, and bring them again unto the land which thou gavest unto their fathers. So you can talk about this 34. You can even use 34 alone, and bring them to 1 John, which tell you what sin is. You understand me?
Can another one can.
Right. And you can read to 39 if you so desire, but you can, if you don't have much time, you just give them 1 Kings 8 and 34 and tell them what sin is. In first John 1 again. Sin is the transgression of the law.
1 John 3 and 4.
Tell them to 1 John 3 and 4 and show them that.
Can.
Right? And you can show them the things that happen to us because we sin. Mildew, blasting, pestilence, famine. It doesn't say poverty, but famine most time, one give famine sometimes, and poverty. Rich nation don't have famine,
Right.
And poor nations have famine. Famine are poor people sickness.
Can.
And the rich man can go and travel to other country and buy grain. All right, where we are now?
Verse 40.
Continue.
Another one gun, verse 40. That they may fear thee all the days that they live in the land which thou gavest unto our fathers.
41.
Verse 41. Moreover, concerning a stranger that is not of thy people Israel, but cometh out of a far country for thy name's sake.
All right, so this stranger now is one that is not an Israelite.
Okay.
Continue.
Another one can, verse 42. For they shall hear of the great name and of thy strong hand and of thy stretched out arm. When he shall come and pray towards this house, verse 43, hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and do according to all that the stranger calleth to thee for, that all people of the earth may know thy name, to fear thee as do thy people Israel, and that they may know that this house which I have built is called by thy name.
All right. Now, the part kind of like a shaky in a way that Solomon now probably put in this now because he want him strange wives to be heard too. But when I read what Psalm 147 and 19 and 20, it's only Israel him listen to.
Okay.
Right? But here anyways, he's asking the Most High to hear those people who come to this place because they want to serve him. It was water too. It was a lot of water, because in one of the scriptures again, I think it is Isaiah, I think, it tells you that the heathen that are called by my name, you remember that?
Okay.
Let me see if we can find it. The heathens that are called by my name, tell you what he's going to do with them, that they may possess the remnant of Edom, Amos 9 and 12. All right, where you are in 1 Kings here? 43?
God, we just read 43, sir.
All right. Amos 9. 9 hours.
God.
What did I say? 12?
Slovakia. Gone, sir, yeah. Another one gone. This is the book of Amos, chapter 9 and verse 12.
Read it from 11.
Another one gone, verse 11. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old.
Okay. 12.
Verse 12. That they may possess the remnant of Edom, and of all the heathen which are called by my name, saith the Lord that doeth this.
All right. So those Heathens who are not Israelite and worshiping this our God, I want to worship our God, shall be our possession. That was, it was the same way in Solomon time, really. Some were possession in Solomon time and some were immigrants. They migrated to Jerusalem because they have heard of this glorious garden. But I don't know, it seemed to all work against us. Because just like how we in Jamaica, you know, some heathen come amongst us and they love the reggae music and want to go to our dances and things. And we look at them and say, why? They love women and so on and so forth. What happened next?
Them steal your culture.
Steal your culture.
God.
It was the same thing. Those heathen that came about in Solomon's time, they stole our culture.
God.
Anyways, there will be no more stealing of our culture. Because like it's in Amos here, the Most High will be closing up the breaches. Strong talk that, you know, if you understand what I mean by that. What do you mean by more close up the breaches? What are breaches?
Slovakia, our breaches pants, like something like pants.
All right, not that kind of breach.
Okay. Like a breach, then would that be like a break or something a compromise, so to speak. Like a tear, or you know what I mean?
Right.
Gone.
Right. That is so right. You're talking about like a crack in the wall.
Gone.
That is a weak point. In other words, the breaches here is referring to weak points.
Gone.
Close up the breaches there. That is those weak points that these nations always use to break us down. They come around us simply for learning our culture so that they can either steal it or learn about us so that they can bring us down. Those are breaches.
God.
Right? And why those breaches are closed up, or how it will be closed up? Because we're going to possess the remnant of Edom and of all the Eden, which are called by the name of the Most High. Like, what are some of the Edens that are called by God's name?
Like, you know what I mean? Those fake Jews calling themselves Israelites.
Right?
You know what I mean?
No. To be honest, to be real with them, they don't call themselves Israelite, you know. Jewish.
Okay.
The Muslim might call themselves is Jew.
Okay.
They call themselves Israeli. But they don't use Israelite, they use Jew and Jewish. So they are ones who else?
Like the Ethiopians who claim to be descended from the lineage of David and Solomon.
Right, them as well. Who else? Two more.
Okay. We don't know no more, sir.
The Christians.
Oh, the Christians, gone.
Though they call themselves child of God.
Gone.
Who else? And no matter what, the Christians.
And Muslims.
And Muslims, right.
Gone.
And we're not talking about Christians who are Israelites, you know. Them not going to fall in that category. Those Christians that are other nations.
Gone.
Those Muslims, they are the ones who the Most High is going to give as a. Say, okay, fine. Since as you love me, you say you want to worship me too. You don't know how to keep my laws, so tell you what, you go and learn it from these people. That is us.
Good.
Because by that time, we are going to know the Most High's laws. Also, all right, think of a mountain. You're going to a mountain top, right? You follow me?
Gone, sir. I hear you loud and clear.
All right. You're going to a mountain top. So the mountain, you have two sides on the mountain. This side you can drive a car, nice smooth road, and you travel go up on top of the mountain. This side now you have a lot of pricks and sharp stone and rugged terrain and a lot of prickles. And you climb through all those prickles and you go up on the mountain. Both of you still reach on top of the mountain, don't it?
Gone.
But the one who goes on the side with the prickles and so on, guess what? That's us. We are the ones, in other words, we are climbing the mountain by learning what not to do. So when you look at our life now, think of the things that we are doing. We are smoking, ain't it?
Gone.
So we're going to learn not to smoke. We're eating pork, crab, shrimp, lobster, all those unclean meat, don't.
Right.
We're going to learn that we should not do that. What else we doing? Adultery. Rampant amongst our people. We're going to learn that we're not to do that. What else we doing? Murder our brothers.
Gone.
We're going to learn not to do that. What else we doing?
Breaking all the laws, basically. You know what I mean? That the Most High gave to us. Not to break.
So when Christ returned now and come and teach us the right way, we're going to say, oh, so we were doing it wrong all along.
Gone.
Right? So in other words, we climbing to the top of the mountain, we're doing it the wrong way. It's like you're climbing backward. Why are we going to reach? Because the mountain top is ours. That top of the mountain, that is ours. The Most High designate us. And he said that we are the only ones that is teaching the ways, teaching his way. And his way would have been, when him say, don't eat, keep these laws, don't eat these kind of meat, we should have just said, okay, and we don't eat them. So that is when he would be taking the other side of the mountain now. With, you know, it's not so rugged like the other side. You're on a better road climbing up, because that's the road of obedience. But we take the other side. We are taking that side of disobedience. But we're learning. Because we're learning what not to do. So when you reach the mountain now and Christ teacher, you're going to say, true you're talking about, because I experience that side there. And, you know, it's not nice. Don't go down that road again, brethren.
Okay.
I understand. It's just like a man who is an old gangster. When him change, you know, you think you can get him back in that? Yeah, man. Worse when you go to prison for him works. He come out and you talk about him. Give you the biggest talk. What do you mean, my yard? How you say? Man for this, man for that, blah, blah, blah. He says, back 30 years, he said, me. You not go back to prison.
Okay.
Make them go and talk. Yeah, man. That is us. We're coming up on the rough side, boy. But we're going to get there.
Right.
We're going through all the pricks and prickles and dog bites and, you know, sickness and this and that. But the nations, they are not climbing the mountain with us. What are they doing? They are just living. God is showing us. While we are walking, He's there teaching us. He's not teaching them other nation. And it's Him said it that way. He said, you only have I known. Therefore, I'll punish you. So you see the rough side we're going up through? That is what?
That is a punishment.
Thank you. Give the brother a hand for that. Yeah, man. As the Captain Nighthawk teaching you well, right. So that rough side we're going up, that is the punishment. So we're learning his judgment. I didn't say it's only one nation and teach that truth. So
Right.
in any case, when Christ returns, we should still, even though many of us go through the death and thing, you know, we still have to give him thanks that he teach us and us only his ways.
Right.
All right, verse what right now?
We just read verse 12
No,
in
man.
Amos.
First Samuel.
Gone.
Sorry, I mean First Kings.
First Kings, gone.
I think it was on 30.
44, gone, sir. We have 44.
Right.
Gone, another one, gone. This is the book of First Kings, chapter 8 and verse 44. If thy people go out to battle against their enemy, wheresoever thou shalt send them, and shall pray unto the Lord towards the city which thou hast chosen, and towards the house that I have built for thy name. Verse 45. Then hear thou in heaven their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause. Verse 46. Slakia. If they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not, and thou be angry with them, and deliver them to the enemy, so that they carry them away captives unto the land of the enemy, far or near. Verse 47.
All right, so this is talking about we now going into captivity like the one that we are here in.
Gone.
47.
Gone, another one, gone. Verse 47. Yet, if they shall bethink themselves in the land whither they were carried captives, and repent, and make supplication unto thee in the land of them that carried them captives, saying, we have sinned, and have done perversely, we have committed wickedness. Verse 48. And so return unto thee with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their enemies, which led them away captive, and pray unto thee towards their land, which thou gavest unto their fathers, the city which thou hast chosen, and the house which I have built for thy name.
So this is why in the truth, when we pray, we turn to the east.
God.
That's where we are from. We're turning towards our land.
Right.
Right? So it says, well, if you are in the land where you were taken captive.
God.
So you stay right there in that land. You don't have to worry about getting over into Jerusalem. Stay right where you are and you turn your face to the east and you pray unto the Most High with a sincere heart. And what it says, and we'll put it here is it again. I'll tell you that with all your heart, we have sinned and have done perversely, and have committed wickedness. So in other words, you have to be sincere about you. When you come in the truth, you have to be sincere about wanting a change.
God.
You get what I'm saying?
God.
So you see the man who come into the truth for hibernation, you know, winter coming will be coming to an end soon, and then many of them will be coming out and say, I cut you know, winter gone.
God.
I mean, just come here for hibernation. That man, his prayer will not be answered because God knows the heart, you know. We in the truth, you know, sometimes we see it, you know, but we don't judge you. We give you a time, we give you a chance. Because sometimes a man come in with the intention say, I'm going to use your hibernate, but he end up staying.
Yeah.
Because you give him a chance and he learned what he was not expecting to learn. Right?
Yeah.
But That is why it says God knows the heart. So Christ gave us some works to do. He said, love your brother. He said, love your brother conditionally. You get me?
God, unconditionally.
No, he did not say to love him conditionally. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, sir. God.
Our love to our brother should be unconditional. And who is your brother? The one who comes into the truth.
Right.
The one who's out there. You mean that Jib? It means that the brother that you are obligated to.
God.
The one that comes into the truth is the one who's trying to be, who is sincerely working for a change. That's the brother you are to love.
Right.
Fall down several times, but the most I keep him. You get me?
God. Another one can.
All right, where now? Verse 148?
Verse, Salakia, verse 49.
49, continue.
Verse 49. Then hear thou their prayer and their supplication in heaven, thy dwelling place, and maintain their cause.
Right.
Verse 50. And forgive thy people that have sinned against thee, and all their transgressions, wherein they have transgressed against thee, and give them compassion before them who carried them captive, that they may have compassion on them. Verse 51. For they be thy people, and thine inheritance, which thou broughtest forth out of Egypt, from the midst of the furnace of iron.
All right. So if once we are in today's Egypt, it means that we are in the furnace of iron.
Okay.
Right? And we are in captivity, and it says, and forgive thy people that have sinned against thee, and all their transgression wherein they have transgressed against thee, and give them compassion before them who carried them captive, so that they may have compassion on them. But this isn't Esau. Esau was not built to be compassionate.
Yeah.
Man, them poor whites, gosh, they think they are poor because of you. Can't turn it off. These poor whites believe that they are poor because of some niggers who is competing with them for the same job, who is competing with them for Section 8, who is competing with them for poverty. Because I can't say we're competing with them for no riches. So it must be poverty. We're competing with them for the 8 or so. I mean, why do a cop? Why would a cop hate you? A cop isn't a rich man in America. You know? A cop isn't a rich man in Babylon, but him don't like the blacks. I mean, time and time again. Look at that video with the young man. Eh? Why is it? What are 8 of us? What are our people? What is our people doing to them? Right. So you know who is going to get the blame for the fallout that the financial fallout that they're experiencing under Corona? You know who's going to get the blame for that?
God.
Yeah. And they're going to come right back for our people for slavery. And then the most are going to trap them again with something worse than Corona. So they have to let go again. And then bigger wars. One little war, there's so much war, one little virus, and so much wars kick off in the world because of the economic fallout. Imagine when the next wave come and force another lockdown.
God.
More lockdowns are going to be forced. It was the lockdowns that caused these wars. And it's going to spin right into World War III. So they'll be drawn into World War III without wanting to fight. You know, something pulling you into something and you just can't. You try all you want. That's like us getting out of poverty. You know, poverty just have to pull you back.
Good.
Or like our singer says, every time you lift your head above the water, there's some overnight scheme worked out, designed to keep you down. All right, verse what now? 51?
52.
52. Go on.
Another one, gun, verse 52. That thine eyes may be open unto the supplication of thy servant, and unto the supplication of thy people Israel, to hearken unto them in all that they call for unto thee.
Go on.
Verse 53. For thou didst separate them from among all the people of the earth, to be thine inheritance, as thou spakest by the hand of Moses thy servant, when thou broughtest our fathers out of Egypt, O Most High Power. Verse 54. And it was so that when Solomon had made an end of praying all this prayer and supplication unto the Most High, he arose from before the altar of the Most High, from kneeling on his knees, with his hands spread up to heaven.
Okay.
Verse 55. And he stood and blessed all the congregation of Israel with a loud voice, saying, verse 56, Blessed be the Lord, that has given rest unto his people Israel, according to all that he promised. There has not failed one word of all his good promise, which he promised by the hand of Moses his servant.
57.
Verse 57, the Lord, the Most High, our power, be with us, as he was with our fathers. Let him not leave us, nor forsake us. Verse 58, that he may incline our hearts unto him, to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments, and his statutes, and his judgments, which he commanded our fathers. Verse 59, and let these my words, wherewith I have made supplication before the Lord, be nigh unto the Most High Power day and night, that he maintain the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Israel at all times, as the matter shall require.
Okay. Go on.
Verse 60, that all the people of the earth may know that the Most High is power, and that there is none else.
Right. 61.
Verse 61, let your heart therefore be perfect with the Most High our power. Walk in his statutes and to keep his commandments as at this day. Verse 62, and the king and all Israel with him offered sacrifice before the Most High.
63.
Verse 63, and Solomon offered a sacrifice of peace offering, which he offered unto the Most High, 22,000 oxen, and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the children of Israel dedicated the house of the Most High.
Listen, 22,000 oxen.
Gun.
You know how much meat one cow give you, man? That was a big thing in the land.
Gun.
For that period of time, it was like a public holiday.
Gun.
Right? There was no oppressor to come and talk about they are losing money because they are not at work. Because there was no oppressor in the land at that time. Oppressing our people.
Good.
Read on. Read on.
Another one, gun. Verse 64. The same day did the king allow the middle of the court that was before the house of the Most High, for there he offered burnt offerings and meat offerings and the fat of the peace offerings, because the brazen altar that was before the Most High was too little to receive the burnt offerings and meat offerings and the fat of the peace offerings. Verse 65. And at that time Solomon held a feast, and all Israel with him, a great congregation, from the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt, before the Most High our power. 7 days and 7 slakia. 7 days and 7 days, even 14 days.
So long that feast what lasted, man. You see, this is what the nations cannot understand with us. That's why they're coming with this thing about this noise abatement law, and talk about you have to lock down party by what them say now, 2 o'clock. Oh, 11 o'clock is the time now.
Gone. Yeah, one time it was 2 o'clock. Gone, sir.
Curfew time now, 2 curfew time now is 11 o'clock. But we use a party not in terms of hours, in terms of days. We had a 14-day party right here. So when we ready to go out and celebrate, and this is what the most I love about these people. When we are walking with him and it's time to celebrate, trust me, we know a good celebration. And here you have a 14-day celebration. All right, last verse. Last verse, 66. All right, no, sir. All right, so we parted 14 days, verse 66 now. On the 8th day, he sent the people away, and they blessed the king, and went unto their tents, joyful and glad of heart, for all the goodness that the Lord had done for David his servant and for Israel his people. So we went, we celebrated, the king sent us away. 14 days party. All right. Matthew 11. The book of Matthew.
I didn't.
Matthew 11, reading from what? 28. All right, I need to read from 28. All right, so all these now that Solomon did was because the Most High gave us rest. And we did not have to go out. We weren't fighting, we weren't being threatened by other nations, we weren't being overrun by other nations then. So we were able to build this splendid temple. But when Christ cometh, in Matthew 11 and 28, Christ said, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." So we'll be getting rest again. Not by Christ coming to sing Kumbaya with our nations, but by Christ coming to dip the same thing that his father David did, to coming to dip his vesture in blood so that he can give us rest. Right? The rest that he's going to give us is to bring our oppressors under his feet, so that they prey no more on his sheep, and the Most High's sheep, which are the Most High's people. All right, so still out problem about maybe the poker. All right, so any question here? Yeah.
I was saying that at the before the Israelite intro that you have, before that, and you had an intro about there's this part where said that the Lord spent COVID-19 on the world to free us from this captivity. What do you mean by that?
All right. Where are you living now? Which country?
Jamaica.
How did your four parents get to Jamaica?
From different countries. From different countries.
From different countries. Your four parents, your father, my father. How did they get to Jamaica? What they tell you in school?
Well,
they tell you about the slave trade? Who they tell you that was in the slave trade?
All
right, let me help you out. It was your descendants that were in the slave trade. So you are descendants of those who were bought and sold during slavery. That makes us captives. And we haven't been freed since. Understand?
So when I said that, I mean since we're captive now, the Lord's going to free us.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
By destroying those who have you as captive. Right. So there is no such thing as you're living like a princess and no, we don't. That's why we never tell you that. We are captives in this civilization that we're in now. Or this uncivilization that we are in. All right. Any other question? A question from Taratazar. All right. So with that, we don't have anything there now. We don't have Officer Kayado to read us the I.S.U.P.K announcement. For a court. All right, let's stand and say the prayers. Amadem, which means to stand and face the east. Abanawa, Shabashamaya, Kodash, Haya, Shamka, Yahawa, Malakwatka, Taba'a, Watazaka, Haya, Aisha, Barataza, Kawa, Haya, Bashamaya, Nathan, Lanawa, Lakan, Kal, Yawam, Kasalak Lanawa, Kawawat Nawa, Kasalak Nawa, Kawawat Yanawa, Wala, Tabayanawa, Banasayawa, Abba,
Abba,
Awashanao,
Oshana,
Maya, Rai,
Rai,
Kaya,
Kai,
Laka,
Laka,
Amalapat,
Amalapa,
Wahahala,
Wahala,
Watapahara,
Watapara,
La'awalaman,
Wala,
Ama.
Am,
In English, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Big Daddy,
Thy kingdom come,
that people
thy be done in earth as it is in heaven.
that heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread,
Give us this day our daily bread,
and forgive us our debts,
and forgive us our debts,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation,
And lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever so be. Amen.
forever so be.
For the curses, blessed are you, Yahweh, King of heaven and earth, and all things living. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh, listen to us now, right now. Send evils and curses and punishment and destruction to the heathen that speak against us, thy prophets, the teachers, the princes, the priests, the Israelite brothers and the sisters. Send evils and curses and punishment and destruction to the heathen, and shake loose the treasures of the rich of Israel that refuse to give to the school. Force their riches to enter into that sanctuary. Send evils and curses and punishment and destruction to the Edomites and the nations and their drug dealers, the court system, the prison system, Planned Parenthood, all the governments of our enemies, Amalek synagogues and armies, Roman Catholic Church,
Roman Catholic Church,
Pope,
Islam,
Islam,
Christianity, Egyptology, militia, Ku Klux Klan, Aryan Nation, skinheads, Posse Comitazi, the gay movement, the lesbian movement, spies, workers of witchcraft, NASA space program, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Wall Street, open up the internet and the airways, the cable access channels and the radio channels. Convict the spirit of any of thy people that seek to stop us, and bring swift destruction to all the heathen that stand in the way or try to stop us from broadcasting your words. Through the planet Earth. Let loose all the plagues. Let loose all the plagues. Cause them to go to and fro. Through the earth. And consume them. Let the plague shake the house of the thief and the murderer. Let Yahweh Shai Michael and Gabriel come down with the flying saucers. And punish all the heathens that come up against us. As we speak thy word. Cause it to be known by all. That it is the angels that hath done it. Cause it to be spread through the media. Throughout the whole world. Cause them to shake at thy coming. In the name of Yahushua. Thank you always so be.
All right, this is the prayer for the power in the Hebrew. Yahweh. Basham Yahawashai.
Basham Yahawashai.
Baba Kosha.
Baba Kosha.
Nathan Lanawa.
Nathan Lanawa.
Akak.
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 Larapa'a.
Larapa'a.
Kalmakala.
Kalmakala.
Wakal Marawa.
Wakal Marawa.
Akak.
Akak.
Lata'ar.
Lata'ar.
Amatazorayam.
Amatazorayam.
Akak.
Akak.
La Akwayam.
La Akwayam.
Amathiam.
Amathiam.
Akak.
Akak.
Alwakawa.
Alwakawa.
Atamala.
Atamala.
Lagarashan.
Lagarashan.
Washam Yahawashai.
Washam Yahawashai.
Tawada Aman.
Tawada Aman. In English, Yahweh in the name of Yahushai.
Yahweh in the name of Yahushai.
Please give us the power.
Please give us the power.
Power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease.
Power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease.
The power to cleanse the lepers.
Power to cleanse the lepers.
The power to raise the dead.
Power to raise the dead.
The power against unclean spirits.
Power against unclean spirits.
To cast them out in the name of Yahushai.
Cast them out in the name of Yahushai.
Thank you, so be.
Thank you, so be. All right, select that. I'm going to pull up the prayer for the blessings. All right, these are the prayer for the blessings. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Washam Yahawashai.
Washam Yahawashai.
Barak Lanawa.
Barak Lanawa.
Wayasharala.
Wayasharala.
Wa'a.
Wa'a.
Bayatsapariam.
Bayatsapariam.
Barak.
Barak.
Rapa'a.
Rapa'a.
Magan.
Magan.
Hagan.
Hagan.
Commanding General YAHANNA.
Commanding General YAHANNA.
The generals.
The generals.
Captains.
The captains.
The officers.
The officers.
The troopers.
The troopers.
The young men and the sisters.
The young men and the sisters.
Washam Yahawashai.
Washam Yahawashai.
Tawada Aman.
Tawada Aman. All right, what we have just said in English. Yahweh in the name of Yahushai, bless, heal, shield, protect our loved ones in the name of Yahushai. Thank you, so.
All right, we're gonna give one courtesy salute to the teacher, men of Israel. Imadium Shabbat. Imadium. Barak. Yahweh Basham Yahushai Brakatah.
Yahweh Basham Yahushai Brakatah.
Yanamata, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the sisters, men of Israel. Sar, turn and face the sisters. Men of Israel, Imadium Shabbat, Imadium, Barak, Yahweh Shamar Alatan Basham Yahawashai.
Yahweh Shamar Alatan Basham Yahawashai.
Yadamata. Class dismissed.
All right, I just going to play the thing there. You close out for me, right?
All right, cancer.
Share screen.
I.S.U.P.K. 53rd Annual Lord Passover.
53rd Annual Lord's Passover is going to be held down here in Florida.
It's going down.
You're here tonight to get a chance to be righteous enough to be worthy of God. Come on, to save you and your
That's right.
It's going down. The Lord's 53rd annual Passover.
When we say we no cowards, we talk that business. We no cowards up in here.
Book your hotels now at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites, the IHG Hotel, 301 Tucker Lane, Cocoa Beach, Florida, 32926.
Here's a lot of men down. You dealing with the men of war. We at war. I shot it with the Lord.
Control your dishes, pots, and sports knives.
Kind of like this. This is like an apartment and a hotel. You know what I mean? Yeah. This here right here is about to be holy ground. This is going to be holy ground. All our beautiful, wonderful brothers and sisters from all over the world. You understand? We can boast that now. Brothers and sisters coming not only from every state, but from all over the world. I heard the numbers this year is ridiculous. We had to buy out the whole hotel.
Friday, April 15th at the Space Coast Convention Center.
My camp undefeated. You cannot debate. You just want the clout. We just want the grades. I'm just trying to get it.
This is going to be glorious.
We don't give a fuck. You can see it in our faces. Got it out the mud. Straight up out the base.
All right, remember to like the video, share, subscribe, you know what I mean? Leave in the comments and on the questions in the comment section. And with that, shalom.
In this time of the pandemic, where COVID-19 has crippled the world economies, where our government has ordered nationwide shutdown, where hospitals are overwhelmed.
Shortly after, the unthinkable happened.
I was literally stunned and frozen.
And their religious leaders are proven to be frauds. Where do you go to get all your questions answered and to hear what God has to say about this matter? You can only find the answers in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Commanding General YAHANNA. We give you scriptural breakdowns of world events and the up and coming world war. We will show you in the Bible where the children of Israel, who are the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans today, would suffer slavery in Jamaica, Caribbean, North, Central, and South America, and other parts of the world. We will show you in the Bible where God said he would send plagues upon the earth before he frees people from this captivity.
The World Health Organization has declared coronavirus a global pandemic.
We will give you the true teaching of the Bible, precept upon precept. To learn more, subscribe today and call the number in the description for I.S.U.P.K. Jamaica. Shalom.